I had an old friend of mine that used to make jokes about something that I was doing when I was trying to better myself, or when I made a certain kind of accomplishment. For some reason, he has to tear it down. I don't know why. I did ask my mom about it. I consulted her because I told her about the story, and then she said that that's a low-key hater. That's someone who's jealous of you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But looking back, I realized that, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Of course, like, they'd probably defend themselves and say that it wasn't like that, but that's exactly what it was. Today's video, I'm going to teach you guys 5 signs to figure out how someone is jealous or envious of you. This can include your friends or family. No one's safe here. Everyone can have some kind of animosity towards your success. And the reason why this is important is because if you're going to be on a self-improvement journey, you cannot have weeds in your garden. Like, you must clip those out so you can have a full bed of flowers, okay? So now the first one is going to be undermining your achievements. This is very common for people who are negative or they're just envious of what you've been doing. They're going to make it seem like whatever you did is not that great. That makes sense? So let's say, for example, hey, Michael, I just got the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, so what? A lot of people get that award. Oh, okay. Hey, Sarah, I just got this new dress and I'm going to get married in it. That dress looks kind of cheap, but you know, whatever. It's just little itty-bitty comments like that have no place to be said, but they're used to just undermine whatever you're doing to make them feel better about them not doing what you're doing. Does that make sense? They always say that you only get comments and hater comments from people who are below you. And that's a prime example. If someone makes underhanded comments about your accomplishments, they're just not happy that you did something that they can't do. So like, you see people on social media who are envious of the influencers in the comment section about how they're traveling and whatnot. Like saying like, oh, they didn't really earn that money, all that stupidness, right? Why do you have to say that? There's really no reason to undermine what someone else is doing. None at all. You're just doing it to make yourself feel better because you haven't done anything. And a lot of people just don't like to come to that conclusion. So instead of taking fault and instead of like taking blame and like taking accountability for their actions, they'd rather just shit on you. It's just more comfortable for them. Sign number 2 is comparing your achievement to someone else who's achieved something of greater magnitude. So let's say, for example, when you say that, oh, I got 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? They'll say something like, well, but that guy got 15K. Okay, I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about me. Like, I'm talking about like what I just did. Yeah, that's great, but that guy got 1,000 in a month. Why do you say that? What is the point? What are you getting out of that? What you're trying to do is that you're trying to make me feel smaller, and in turn, it'll make you feel bigger. That makes sense? People do that all the time. So, for example, the friend that I talked about in the very beginning, he used to work at a gym, and then he got fired because he couldn't sell. And then I got my personal training certification shortly after. I told the story before. And then when I told him about it, he said that that's great and all, but personal trainers don't have any value. Why do you have to say that? Is that necessary? I don't really see how that's necessary to say that. See, the thing is, I hold no animosity towards the guy, but then at that point, at that very moment, I didn't really think that what he said was negative. But then when I relayed that same message to my mother, like, she told me that, yeah, that's a low-key hater. And I was like, how? I don't understand. Okay, let me analyze here. Let me analyze. And then I looked over. I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. He got fired from that gym. And then I got hired at the gym doing something that's above what he was doing. So it's like, it makes sense that he wanted to say some stuff like that to me. Personal trainers have no value. But that's false. Like, because the thing is, I've helped so many people. I've helped a ton of people. I've helped 83-year-old people, or an 83-year-old man, like, get his balance back together. I've helped people with their wrists. I've helped people get stronger. I've helped people lose weight. I've helped people a ton. I know for a damn fact I put in a lot of value in this marketplace, and for someone to tell me otherwise, fuck you. That is false. But other people they're just gonna say, you know what, what you're doing is not that great. Calm it down, because they don't want you to flex on them too hard. That makes sense. Third one is that they give you the silent treatment, and this is pretty common. This is actually a trait of narcissism. They do this to try to gain control over you and your emotions. Because when they stop talking to you, then you start to think that you did something wrong. But they didn't tell you did something wrong, so now you're in your own head. And now you're chasing after them and their validation. So if you like text them something online and they you know, like on iPhone or like Instagram or Snapchat, you can see that they opened up your message. That is, if they didn't turn off their read receipts, and if they don't respond to something, then they're hating on you. Like, let's say if they just don't like you at all, like they never liked you in the first place, and they don't like you texting them, that's one thing for them not to respond. But if they coincidentally not respond after you tell them something good, that's kind of like that's a little sus. It's a little Among Us sus, because if you actually weren't jealous of me, then you'd be like, oh wow, that's awesome. But if you just say nothing, like looking all grumpy at the phone, then that's not a very good sign. And also in person, they'll try their best not to speak to you, because just looking at you just churns their insides, because they hate the fact that you're progressing. That makes sense? So like if you start going to the gym, if you start looking better, if you start reading more books, if you start talking with more class, then they're like, oh damn, like this guy is not the guy that I was friends with, because he's leveling up. He's not on the same level as I am anymore. I'm way below him. So I'm gonna not talk to him, because looking at him is flaring up my insecurities. Like, people don't like the fact that you're in shape. I've had some people not want to talk to me anymore, because like I'm just not the same guy anymore. Like I'm in shape, and it's just me being in shape just bothers them, because they don't do anything. That makes sense? Of course, not everyone's like that, but some people were. Now, sign number 4 is that they don't acknowledge your accomplishments. So let's say if you do say something and they do respond, but they don't really put a lot of weight into it, they don't really give it any kind of thought whatsoever, they're probably jealous of you. That's like a step above, or like a step below the silent treatment. It's not as bad as the silent treatment, but it's kind of the same thing. They're not really giving you the time of day. That makes sense? So for example, you say like, hey, I did this. Okay, well thanks, I guess. Hey, I traveled to Japan. I want to go to Japan one day. And I said I traveled to Japan. They're like, what the fuck? Like, you obviously don't really care, right? You obviously don't really care about what I'm doing. Either you're envious, you don't care about me in the first place, or you're maybe just an asshole. I don't know. But like, they just don't really acknowledge what you do, or they acknowledge the excitement that you have. That's like a symbol of a sign of empathy. Someone who's empathetic can feel the emotions of other people, and if they don't care at all, they're probably just not empathetic, and they probably just don't care about you whatsoever. Now, the last sign is going to be that they make jokes when you're down on your luck. That's a big one. This is like a big one that I had to deal with, is that friends think it's funny to make jokes and pick at you when you're at your lowest. That's not cool whatsoever. I've had times where friends were down on their luck and I was there to pick them up. But in high school, I was that little jackass. I would make funny jokes when you were down on your luck. I used to do that. And I had friends that used to do that. So let's say, for example, if you get turned down from a girl, right? Let's say like you go and approach somebody and like you just feel down about it. You're likely not that experienced yet, so you get turned down, you get rejected, it sucks. And they're like, see, I told you, bro, like, I told you couldn't get it. Like, man, like, just chill with us, bro, like, just drink some beer, bro, you can't do it. What the fuck is your problem? Like, I actually try to go do something, and then, like, you make jokes about it because I failed? Like, really? If my boys got rejected, I'm like, man, fuck that bitch. Like, dude, go, hey, that girl's bad as hell. Like, she's bad as hell, go talk to her instead. If someone makes fun of my boy, or some girl makes fun of my boy for being like short or something, or like overweight, I'm like, dude, fuck that chick. Like, go, that one over there looks like she's giving you the eyes, bro. She's giving you the eyes, bro. Go talk to her instead. And then I see him win, I'm like, let's go. And then he walks out the club. I don't go to clubs. So let's say like figuratively, he walks out the club, and I'm like, oh, look at this dude over here, bro. Like, he just like walked out. Let's go. And the other chick is jealous. Like, I'd rather do stuff like that. I'd rather, like, lift my boys up. But some people don't want to do that. They want to take the opportunity to, like, make you feel even worse, which makes them feel even better. That's a bully, by the way. That's what bullies do. They make jokes when you're down. Some people don't understand when to turn the joke filter off. And the jealous people, their joke filter is on 100% of the time. Does this resonate with you? Do you have anyone in your life that has given you these kind of same issues? If so, let me know in the comment section, okay? This is your Sensei King Kai. I appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe to my channel. Alright, deuces.